Hey, it's Tony at ExecuNet. Thanks for tuning in as always. With the constant stream of news about the coronavirus outbreak, it's natural to worry about your well-being and safety, the people you lead and the ones you love. There's fear, a sense of helplessness, and certainly a lot to think about. Will the economy collapse? Is my job safe? Will my business thrive again when the virus has run its course? So in such an unpredictable and frightening time, how do we stay positive, remain purposeful and productive, and not let anxiety get the best of us? My guest is poised to address these questions. Emiliya Zhivotovskaya is the CEO and founder of the Flourishing Center. She's a leading voice in the world of positive psychology and the science of flourishing, and a widely sought after speaker, educator, facilitator, and coach. Emiliya, it's good as always to be talking to you.
Thank you so much, Tony, for having me on, and thank you everyone listening during these crazy times.
Crazy indeed. Words like fear, anxiety, panic, worry, it's not what anyone wants to be experiencing. Is it important to allow ourselves to feel these things?
Oh gosh, absolutely. The most important thing about the stress cycle is that we want to do our best to complete it. And many people who aren't taught the skills for how to deal with their stress, or we're not really taught or trained how to deal with emotions, it's important to understand that the way that it's done in the wild would be you see a stressful stimuli like a tiger coming at you or something is in imminent danger, and it releases a stress response of chemicals in your body, and usually the response would be run away or fight back, and that uses up the chemicals in the body and it completes the stress cycle. Animals will do this. Sometimes they'll freeze when they're incredibly scared, and then they'll shake very shortly afterwards as a way of just shaking out, literally moving the stress through the body. Very hard to do if you're quarantined. All of a sudden it's like stress chemicals get released and you can't run and you can't fight because there is no common enemy. So we really need to look at what are other psychological strategies that take the things that we're feeling and move them through our body. In positive psychology, we talk a lot about how the mental health is very similar to physical health. We would say that a person is physically healthy when they eat food, they absorb what they need, and they poop out what they don't. And we would say a person is unhealthy if they eat food and they puke it up, or they eat food and then they're constipated. We'd say that the same thing is true for emotions. Rather than pushing away the feeling and just almost like vomiting it up and saying, oh, I'm not worried, I'm not afraid, I'm fine, or just kind of swallowing this fear and holding it in your body and just like being stuck with it. We need to think about how do we move these things through our body. And some strategies for doing things like that could include everything from just being able to really focus on breathing in what you're experiencing, feeling in your body what you're experiencing, and then literally exhaling it out, moving it through your body, or giving your brain an opportunity to say, thank you, brain, I know you're trying to protect me. Like the hardest part about the role of uncertainty and unknown is that it's like a song that is not complete in your head. So the same way you hear a song on the radio and you turn it off halfway and then you find yourself singing it for the rest of the day, it's a loop that's open. And when the loop that is open is only going to really be closed in the next couple of months, your brain is likely to just keep chattering about it over and over again. And so controlling worry chatter or thoughts about the future is really important. And one of the ways to do that sometimes is actually designating worry time to say, okay, brain, you want to freak out, you want to panic, you got 20 minutes. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write down everything you have to tell me, because I get that you're trying to help me, you're trying to protect me, but we can only take this really one day at a time. So if you want to worry, you're allowed 20 minutes a day. I'm going to give you this designated container of it, but then you got to shut up. And I have to stay focused, and I have to problem solve, and I have to stay in the moment. I have to work with what I have, and I have to turn this threat into an opportunity.
Really awesome advice. And of course, many of us along those lines, Emiliya, are constantly tuned into the news. We check our Facebook feed. we're doing things like that to stay informed, and that makes sense. Any advice on how to stay informed without scaring ourselves too much or scaring ourselves too little?
Yeah, I think one is being really purposeful about your news choices. So making a decision to say, these are the two or three, these are the valid sources of news that I want to relate to. And then as best as you can, subscribe to those news sources so you're getting feeds from them rather than this obsessive needing to search for the information. So for example, I just signed up for text message notifications from New York City to keep me updated on how things are progressing, because we're all waiting to be quarantined any hour now. It's like, do not leave your house. And so rather than me constantly needing to turn to my device, reload anything new happen, any new updates, which can, one, waste a lot of time, stress me out, and it's again a loop that my brain is constantly thinking about, and it becomes an obsessive tendency. So there's a chemical that gets released in our brain called dopamine, and dopamine is responsible for any of those impulsive behaviors that we get. The impulse, if you're a smoker, to say, "Ooh, I need a cigarette right now," or the impulse to say, "Let me check my email," or the impulse you get when you hear your phone ding with a text message and you got to go reach for it. Well, now we have this impulse, like, I got to check, is there anything new? Is there anything new? And while things are rapidly spreading, it's also not very rapid. Every minute to minute, 15 minutes, hour at a time, things aren't really changing that much, and we're in this waiting period. So this is where I believe that we as human beings have to really become masters of ourselves, masters of our mind, masters of our body, being really careful to take care of our immune system and our health, mastering our thoughts, mastering our feelings. Like, that is the call to action, I think, right now, because otherwise we're going to be entirely reactive. Our behaviors will be compulsive. Our emotions are going to be driven by by the media. And again, our body could be susceptible to getting sick by something that, if we take care of our immune systems, we know how to take care of our body, we're not going to be as susceptible.
Yeah, terrific. How do we know when we've stepped over from, I'll call it garden variety uneasiness, to deep-seated anxiety that could require a different kind of help or intervention? What's your sense about that? What are some telltale signs we should look for?
Yeah. So you want to be looking for, as best as you can, cultivating self-awareness. So frequently checking in with yourself and looking at, how am I feeling right now? Knowing yourself is important, like Socrates said, above all, know thyself. And the unexamined life is not worth living. I might be butchering that. I know I'm talking to a philosopher in front of me, so you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And the key is, it's important to know, how does stress impact your body? So my telltale sign is I start to grind my teeth. I know somebody else, her telltale sign is she grips her hips. Another sign for me is that I find that my breath is pretty shallow, and I sometimes feel like, in order to get a deep breath in, if I get anxiety, my anxiety experience is, it makes me feel like, in order to take a breath in, I have to go, like, I have to like suck wind, because my body is in stress response. So it's usually the body that is telling you these things. You're checking in with yourself. How do I feel in this moment? What am I noticing in my body? One of the hardest things is that when people haven't cultivated awareness of themselves prior to something like this can become normal. That the sensations they're experiencing in their body, the wearing their shoulders up to their ears and just having like pain in their neck, they don't even realize that they're holding their tension in their neck until they wake up in the morning and they can't turn their head. And now they can't go to a chiropractor because they're quarantined. So, it's like, really just being aware of your body is important. Noticing yourself trying to fall asleep. So if you are trying to fall asleep, and normally you're somebody who your head hits the pillow, you're out, and there you are, you're laying down and you're ruminating, and your mind's not shutting down. It is such an important thing to start to look at. How do I cultivate the capacity to increase my self-care, and really give my body the opportunity to say, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know what a month from now is going to bring. All I have right now is this moment. And in this moment, I'm safe. In this moment, I'm okay. In this moment, my family is safe. I don't know what the future is going to bring, but the only thing I can rely on is that I've handled anything that's ever come my way before. And yes, this is different. Some people on the line have possibly handled harder things. Some people may not think that they've handled something as hard as this before. But the only thing we can really rely on during these times is the trust and the faith that we will get through this somehow. We've handled it before, we'll handle it again, and I have to take it one day at a time.
I love your mind on this stuff. And yeah, you've talked about the body more than a few times, and we've talked that the body doesn't lie. So give us some advice, pointers, if you will, on how to take care of our bodies during this time so we can continue to function as a signpost for things that might be up with us that we can redirect ourselves or just recourse.
Yeah. Well, firstly, there's just the how do you handle your body during this times of COVID, and everything. Again, we can talk about things that come at us, experiences that we have can put us into threat mode, or they can put you into opportunity mode. One of the opportunities I'm seeing for myself is that I am healthier than I've ever been. The occasional little dessert treat here and there, no sugar in my body right now. Staying active, sleeping until my body says I'm ready to wake up, like I'm not shortchanging sleep. And I'm taking all sorts of amazing supplements to make myself healthier than ever before. So there's just like COVID care in general, obviously, hand washing, sanitizing, but there are things that we know that are just basic lifestyle of movement, nutrition, and sleep and breathing. I'm doing a lot of Wim Hof breathing, a lot of breathing exercises, which again, if someone is likely to catch the virus, obviously it's a lung virus. And so the more we can up our respiratory health in general, you're going to protect yourself. And so that's just something that regardless of what we're talking about here, which is the emotional support side of using your body, that's just basics and things that I think that sometimes we were as a community so driven to produce and so much in the doing that self-care kind of would sometimes take a back seat. I would, when my life gets really busy and business gets busy, the first thing to go is my exercise routine. And then the second thing to go is my sleep. And I really have to fight that. And during this time, some people are going, okay, like I have time to take care of myself, and really using that as an opportunity. Then when we're looking at the emotional support side of things, there are so many ways in which we can use our body to calm our mind. Traditional psychologists are left and right. I see psychologists embracing the need to use the body first and then the mind when it comes to things like crisis, resilience, and trauma. Because firstly, you can't remove by reason something that wasn't put there by reason in the first place. This isn't, it's some of these irrational fears of the way that your brain is going, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. Those worst case scenarios right now are fairly irrational, or even if they have a likelihood of coming to fruition, panicking is not the thing that you need to do right now. Problem solving and preparing yourself is what you need to do right now. And what the fear response makes us want to do is actually run away. That's what fear is wired to do. So what we actually want to do is understand that this fear response is about to give me the opposite of what I need to be doing during these times, which is I need to lean in, I need to roll up my sleeves, I need to step up to the challenge. But what fear makes me want to do is abort mission. So I have to get my fear response down. And so so there's an important thing that when we teach positive psychology to children, we call it your temperature. So you're first have to notice that you're experiencing a negative emotion, and then you notice the temperature of it. So I do scaling. I say to myself, on a scale of 0 to 10, how strong is this emotion? If it's a 2 or 3, garden variety little discomfort or worry, I can talk myself out of it. I can say, okay, thank you, brain. I appreciate you're trying to protect me. I appreciate you're trying to keep me safe by worrying a little bit right now. I'm okay, and I can just calm myself down by thinking about it. If my feeling is at a 7, 6, 7, or 8, at that point, you're not going to be able to reason with it. It's like anytime you've ever been with, if you've ever been around somebody who's panicking, saying calm down, don't worry, doesn't work. It's like you don't talk reason, because the emotional brain, I use this little fist to say that the core brain versus the rational brain, that emotional brain is firing. So we have to soothe our body. And there's a system called havening, which is a psychosensory therapy that I'm trained in, and it is used to treat amygdala-based experiences and disorders. So phobias, fears, traumas, and it works incredibly well preventatively. It works incredibly well to soothe our nervous system response. And it's basically petting yourself, but it's more than that. But it's basically, I had an ex-boyfriend once who used to call it my petting therapy. And I'm like, but it works, which is you use the power of touch to actually soothe the body. We do this naturally when a child is crying. When we pick up a baby, we hold it tight to our body and we start to rock it, or we rub a baby's back, right? We know our kids when they come and they're all, and they can't catch their breath. We know that swaddling them, pressing down on their body soothes their nervous system. And we can do this to ourselves. Havening is a psychosensory therapy. You actually would see a practitioner that would actually soothe your body by using touch. Now we are socially distancing, so we have to do this to ourselves. I'm going to lower my camera a little bit so you guys can watch me do this. But havening includes 3 different types of touch. One is across the shoulders, and you could do it with me, Tony. There you go. So it's shoulder to elbow. You're just stroking down the side of your arm, and then without rubbing back up, you're just going up to down. So shoulder to elbow, shoulder to elbow, shoulder to elbow, shoulder to elbow. And already I see you smiling. It feels kind of nice, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So what this is doing is, firstly, you're crossing the midline of the body. So anytime you crisscross the body, you're integrating the 2 hemispheres of your brain. Then the pace at which you're moving, the touch, actually releases a delta brainwave frequency inside of our brain. A delta brainwave frequency is a slower frequency of the brain, where a worrying mind has a beta brainwave, and if we're panicking, it's high beta. And so we're actually using touch to slow down the brain rhythms. And researchers who created havening then also describe how that slower delta brainwave frequency releases something called GABA inside of your brain, and GABA is inhibitory. It calms the body. So there's 3 different types of touch. This one is the one that I use a lot. It's shoulder to elbow. Another one is across the palm. You can be in a meeting, you could be out somewhere, and you're just doing, so it's wrist to fingertip, wrist to fingertip, wrist to fingertip, and you're just rubbing your palms. Other direction, Tony, wrist to fingertip. Yep, there you go, wrist to fingertip, wrist to fingertip. Yep, just like that. It doesn't produce as much gamma, delta brainwave frequency as across the arms, but it will do some. And then the other one that's the most powerful is actually across your head. So forehead to temple, forehead to temple, forehead to temple. You can even do your face, your cheeks. When you use more of your hand, you get more of your cheeks. Now, again, in the beginning, you might say, well, this is a little strange to just like pet myself, but it works. Do you notice how just you feel a little bit brighter?
Yes.
What's cool about this is the higher the stress response, like being at an 8 or a 9, the more powerful this technique is, because you'll feel yourself drop to a 4 pretty quickly. And most of us do this naturally. Like when we're stressed out, we put our hand on our hand on our head like this. We have our pineal gland located behind the center of our forehead. We tend to bring energy out of the core brain and more to the prefrontal cortex when we put our hand here. It's sort of like we soothe ourselves naturally by doing this. And this movement across the body can be a powerful way to do it. Also, obviously using breath, obviously using sound. Some people are not feeling anxious right now, they're feeling angry. And it's hard because there's not any one thing, unless you are buying into the story that this is all bioweaponry, in which case the anger can really be strong there. But recognizing that we as human beings are kind of cut off from the fact that we're animals. Animals in the wild roar when they're angry, and they make sound. And so finding an appropriate way to feel what your body was wanting to do and give it that output, making some sound, sighing, letting it out, is important because energy's got to go somewhere. The emotion's got to go somewhere, and we don't want it to eat away at us. It's not going to be conducive to the problem solving that we want to cultivate.
You've given us so much. Thank you. Tell us how we could get in touch with you if we needed more help.
Thank you, Tony. You can find me at theflourishingcenter.com. We've got lots of different programs and program opportunities available there. Firstly, we have a set of resilience programs that we offer. So there's mental, emotional, physical, and social skills that have been proven to increase people's capacity to be resilient. And those are available as self-study courses that people can take online, or we offer in-house or online training programs to whole teams, and as well as consulting on how to help increase resilience during this time. We also run certification programs for practitioners, people who want to learn to do what I do, which is know the science of positive psychology in a way that they can help others thrive. And we have training programs in coaching and resilience trainers and positive psychology certifications as well. So find me on the web. We also have a podcast. The Flourishing Center podcast has lots of great science-based tricks and tools available on there. And always you can just reach out you can actually email me at emiliya@emiliya.com as the fastest way to reach me.
Terrific. Thank you again, Emiliya, for making time and sharing wonderful advice and demonstrating for us what we can do during this time and during other times that I'm sure will be ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.